So when I started writing my series, I really had no idea what I was doing. And oftentimes I still don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going. But somehow I managed to write 2 books. The second book is coming out on Halloween this year. What I had were 3 things. I like to think of them as the roots of the stories, and everything else flowed out of them. So the first thing I had was a place. I grew up in a small town in the American West. It was quiet, ordinary, the all-American town. But like most places, there's a darkness just below the surface. I'm able to see it partly because of my upbringing in an abusive home. The other is because I've always been attracted to the dark and to things that are unsettling. There's a mansion on the hill there, rich with history. People who built and lived there were deeply involved in politics in the early 20th century. It's very intriguing and enough to motivate further story building. The mansion is the home of a villain, right? A place where dark secrets radiate out and into the world. The town and the mansion were enough to get things moving. People sometimes ask why I changed the town's name in the books. The real town is called Sheridan, but about 5 miles away there was an abandoned mining town called Monarch. It was left behind in 1953. So right there's this creepy old history with the name, and I thought if I could rename the town Monarch, it would give me more freedom with locations and history. I was giving myself permission to reshape the town, to bend it, to invent history that better suited my imagination. The same thing happened with the mansion. The real building has one name. In the book, I renamed it Kinnan Mansion. Not to hide it, but to loosen it from reality. Just enough so that I could change it. Just enough so that I could make it different and work with my needs with writing the book. The second thing I had was the darkness. So knowing the location and the new name of the town, I dove into the darkness from my memories there. There's dark alleys, the shadows cast by streetlights, and the figures walking down unlit paths. The unknown elements of the town, like who was really in charge there, the secrets that people kept. What were the things that people were afraid to talk about? What strange and horrific events had they witnessed? Once you start considering those things, the whole world starts to open up. And as you can see from this drive, there's much lurking in the dark corners here. A whole world there. The third thing I had was tone. I grew up reading the work of Bradbury, Edgar Allan Poe, and surprisingly John Bellairs, who seemed like a good friend from my childhood. Bellairs' stories spoke of adventure, mystery, and most importantly, a dark and forbidding atmosphere. The illustrations of Edward Gorey especially stayed with me. They added a deeper shadow to the dark themes that Bellairs wrote about. I wanted to do something similar. I can describe it best as presenting something dark and terrible wrapped in a warm blanket. It's a classic tension between good and evil, set somewhere unexpected. There aren't many dark fantasy or thriller stories rooted in the American West, but if you've spent time there, you know how much emptiness there is, how much silence, how easily that silence can give way to the dark. So that's it. That's how these stories started. Not with a plot, not with a message, but with a place built from my memory and imagination. a darkness that felt like home, and the tone that caused intrigue and suspense. All of these things pulled the reader into the dark world. Everything else followed. So I want to thank you for staying to the end. If you enjoy these types of stories, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. If you're curious about the Monarch Mystery series, there's a link below in the description. Please click on that and get added to my mailing list. I will send out cool documents that add more depth to the novels. So until next time, I'll talk to you later.